Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Below the Yellow Line podcast. Very excited to have another great guest on the show today. So, Mr. Larry, if you would, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah, my name is Larry Bose, and I'm with the Winchester, Indiana Speedway, and just happy to be talking to you and your fans this afternoon.
Well, we appreciate it. We're trying to help out as many short tracks as we can across the country, trying to interview the promoters and owners and anybody involved with them because, my listeners are probably tired of hearing this by now, but it's a very important rung on the ladder to NASCAR and to any racing series. The short tracks, of course, are. But we just want a little more insight here, Larry. What do you do a little bit more specifically, and how did your interest in racing start, and how did you kind of get to where you are?
Well, it goes back many, many years. Actually, 1971, I started in racing, and through the years, I've been involved in quite a few different facilities and sanctioning groups. So I've been very blessed to see a lot of careers develop through the short tracks. I'm involved with Winchester Speedway, which is a pretty good story. High half-mile, asphalt oval. In its era, it was very, very strong for launching the careers of many Indy drivers through the USAC ranks. However, more recently, it's been turned over to the stock ranks, and with the likes of the Winchester 400, which is coming up in a few weeks, past winners of that include Aaron Jones, Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott. So, many of the drivers that you see on the NASCAR tour today have cut their teeth at tracks like Winchester.
They sure have, and short tracks certainly a big part of it. Go ahead, sir. All right. Do you have a you're associated with Winchester right now, but it sounds like you've had a long career, at least involved in racing. Do you have a favorite moment or memory so far from your career?
Boy, there's been so many. I had 30 years over at the nearby Allgaier Speedway, won a legendary half-mile dirt oval. So I guess I've seen the best of both worlds. But over there, seeing the Jack Hewitt, a local hero, we have the 4 Crown Nationals over there, and one night winning 4 features in 4 distinctly different types of cars. That was quite a historic moment, and I was really proud to be there that evening.
I'm sure. I'm sure that Eldora is a track that I've always loved. Always puts on a great show. And you have really done it all. You've seen dirt, you've seen asphalt, you've seen all of it. We've talked a lot while doing this series about the impact that short track racing has on the country, and while not everybody that races at those local short tracks grows up or ends up having a Cinderella story, a rise to NASCAR, IndyCar, whatever. A lot of them, they love what they do, but what do you think the impact of short track racing is on the country as a whole? And what do you think it is, especially for sanctioning bodies like NASCAR, IndyCar, F1? How big do you think short track racing is on a huge scale?
Well, short track racing is important in the long run of developing tomorrow's future stars, but you're absolutely right. Not everybody has the resources to move up the ladder. So short track racing just provides a great avenue for those that just have a love for the sport, that want to compete against each other on various levels. And that's the neat thing about short track racing. They can offer everything from street stock bomber type cars up to open wheel cars up to full-fledged late models. So it's it may be considered a training ground, but it's also a battleground for many of the racers.
For sure. It always is. Those short track Saturday nights are always intense, to be sure. Is there one short track race in particular? And I know you might be a little biased, and that's absolutely okay, but is there one short track race in particular, like a notable one, a topless 100, a snowball derby that really stands out to you as a, circle it on the calendar event every single year?
Well, I'm doing this to not say the World 100 over at Eldora Speedway. It just completed its run last week, and it is by far marquee event for the late models, for the open wheel cars. The Knoxville stands out. But right here at Winchester, we have the Winchester 400. And while this thing maybe isn't out there where it was many years ago with dirt now, the feature, the Winchester 400 is still a historic gimmick. And being on the high banks, watching it go down for the green flag, that will make the hair back in the day stand up for sure.
So many short tracks have that effect. But Winchester, it seems to you, sir, is really special. I mean, obviously, where you're associated with now, but if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and tell our viewers and listeners a little abridged history of the Winchester Speedway, because not everybody knows about it.
Well, it was begun back in 1915, so it's like the second oldest short track in the area. And it was developed out of an amusement park back in the day. On the property was an amusement park. And the story has it that the guys would come out with their motorcycles to try to impress the women. And they would just like race around the parking lot. And so the owner at that time, Frank Funk, he decided, well, guys, you just go out there and do your thing. And as they threw the dirt up, it just kept getting steeper and steeper. And so that was the birth of Winchester Speedway. The unique thing about it is the banking at 33 degrees. It is very, very fast for a half mile. And back in the, just before Daytona was born, I came to Winchester and looked at the banking, and again, story has it that they called the banking at Winchester after what the banking at Daytona after what they had seen at Winchester. So it's played a pretty pivotal role in racing, and so it's very, very steep, and therefore a lot of drivers really don't like to race on it. And so there's a great sign right at the entrance that says, "Through these gates, past the bravest drivers in the world."
Wow, it'd be a little bit harrowing, but at the same time, you kind of get that adrenaline rush, like, hey, that means me. That's me. I'm one of those guys. And then especially if you were in victory lane at the end of the night, rather, I can't imagine how you'd feel. And you talk about 33-degree banks on a half mile. And the only other track that can comprehend that is Bristol, where NASCAR is actually at this weekend. I believe they had 36-degree banks, and I think they've now whittled that down to around 32, 33. But you think of the steepest tracks in NASCAR, Daytona. Like you said, Bill France went there, looked at it, and said, okay, hey, these guys, I like what they're doing. Let's make this happen at my big super speedway in Florida. Talladega as well followed suit after Daytona in 1969, and is 33 degrees of banking as well. So, Winchester is certainly a lot more than just one of those random short tracks in Indiana. My last question for you, Larry, is where can they find the Winchester Speedway? Where can they, come see those bravest drivers in the world race?
Well, we're located 1 hour northeast of Indianapolis, kind of on the Ohio-Indiana website is WinchesterInSpeedway.com. Winchester in standing for Indiana Speedway.com. And also social media, our Facebook is very, very active. And while we events a year, like 4 events a year, actually, they're all kind of marquee events. And so we encourage you to check us out on our website and on our social media.
Absolutely. Go do that. Buy a ticket if you can to one of those special events and in any short track out there, whether it's local or not. If you're not close to Winchester, Indiana, when they have the Winchester 400, either, you're going to be stopping a lot of gas stations or buy a plane ticket. Go out, see the racing there. It's fantastic year in and year out, as it is at most short tracks across the country. So, Mr. Larry, thank you so much for coming on the show today. We really appreciate it, and we wish you and the rest of your team up there in Winchester, Indiana, the best of luck for this year, and all the best of luck for future years. Hope to see the Winchester legacy carried on.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.